I want to paint the nursery cream. My fork slipped from my hand and struck the edge of my plate with a sharp, brittle clang. All 5 people at the table looked at me. Welcome to revenge cookies. She died locked out of the condo she bought. Her fingerprint flashing access denied while her pregnant sister slept inside. When she opens her eyes again, it is the dinner where the nursery plan was announced. This time, she doesn't reach for the spare key. She reaches for a for sale sign. Victoria was still holding up her phone. On the screen was a cream-colored nursery, a white crib by the window, and an enormous stuffed rabbit tucked into the corner. My stomach clenched. That rabbit. I had seen it before. In my last life. It had ended up in my study. Number after Victoria moved in, that room had stopped being my study at all. Maddie. Gavin's hand settled on my shoulder. I jerked away as if he had burned me. The legs of my chair scraped hard against the floor. His hand froze in midair. I looked down at my left hand. My engagement ring was still there, the diamond catching the restaurant's warm yellow light. I grabbed my phone. The 27th of June, 6 weeks before my wedding, 3 days before Victoria moved into my condo. 12 days before she changed the locks, and my own fingerprint started flashing access, denied at the door to my own home. My fingers went numb. I nearly dropped the phone. During the last few months of my previous life, all I did was explain. I explained why the condo was mine. I explained that I had never promised it to my sister. I explained that the so-called family property agreement did not have my real signature on it. I explained that I was not losing my mind. I kept explaining until the day I collapsed in the stairwell of the building where Victoria was living in my home. I remember people shouting my name above me. I remember someone saying, "We should not make a scene." By the time someone finally called for help, it was too late. Then I opened my eyes, and I was back at this dinner. Victoria blinked at me. "Maddie, what's wrong?" She was wearing the ivory dress I had bought her last year, one hand resting against her lower back, a smile still on her face. Alive, and she had not taken my home yet. "What did you just say?" "The nursery." She pushed her phone toward me. "Your second bedroom is gray, remember? It feels kind of cold. I'm only staying 12 weeks, so I don't want to do anything major, but we can repaint the walls. We'll change them back when we leave." She swiped. A crib, a changing table, floor-to-ceiling custom storage. I stared at the screen. "You already picked custom cabinets." Victoria's smile tightened. "I'm just saving ideas." My mother, Diane, ladled soup into her bowl. "Built-ins are practical. Babies come with a lot of stuff." "How long is she staying?" I asked. 12 weeks at most. My father, Thomas, set down his fork. "Once things settle down, they'll move back." I looked at the custom storage again. "You're installing built-ins for a 12-week stay." Derek laughed. He worked in building supply sales and had perfected the kind of smile that made every boundary violation look like a simple misunderstanding. "Maddie, she's about to become a mom for the first time. Right now she wants to buy everything she sees. Don't read too much into it." "What about the window?" His water glass stopped halfway to his mouth. "What window?" "The window in my second bedroom." The table went silent. My heartbeat sped up. In my last life, after Victoria moved in, a child safety guard appeared outside that window. She told me they had arranged it after moving in. Later, the building manager told me someone had come to take measurements before I had ever handed over a key. I stared at Derek. "Did you send someone into my condo?" My mother frowned first. "Why do you keep calling it your condo? Like we're strangers. We're family." "Did you?" Her face hardened. Gavin took us over to look at it. A ringing filled my ears. Slowly, I turned my head. Gavin sat to my right, folding his napkin into a neat rectangle. "Once, twice. You took them inside." He looked up. "One time." "When?" 3 days ago." My fingers tightened around my fork. "Why?" "Maddie, Victoria is moving in soon. I took them by so we could see what might need to be adjusted. That's normal, isn't it?" "When did she decide she was moving in?" He paused. "We've been talking about this for a while." "Who's we?" "Maddie." His voice dropped. That voice. Whenever he wanted me to give in, he said my name that way. Calm, gentle, never angry, almost caring. I looked at him. "Who discussed this with me?" My father slammed his glass onto the table. "Enough. Your sister lives on the 6th floor of a walk-up. Your condo has 2 bedrooms. One sits empty. What exactly is the problem with letting her stay there for 3 months? What about my wedding? My mother answered, as if it were obvious. Push it back a little. I stared at her, like I had misheard. What? Gavin shifted beside me. I locked my eyes on him. What did she just say? Babe, why would the wedding need to be pushed back? He was quiet for 2 seconds. I called the venue. My throat tightened. You called them. I was just checking our options. When? Yesterday. Yesterday evening, he had told me he was stuck in an emergency meeting at work. The tip of my tongue went numb. You told me you were in a meeting. Gavin's jaw tightened. Victoria jumped in immediately. Maddie, please don't fight with Gavin because of me. Forget it. I won't stay there. She braced one hand on the table and slowly stood. Derek rushed to steady her. It's fine. She lowered her head, tears already sliding down her cheeks. I'll keep staying with Derek's mom. 6 floors isn't that bad. I'll just take the stairs slowly. My mother's eyes reddened at once. Are you happy now, Maddie? The moment she said it, my hands stopped shaking. Because in my last life, this was the exact moment I had lost. I had opened my purse, pulled out my spare key, and pressed it into Victoria's hand. She had hugged me and cried. My mother had smiled. Under the table, Gavin had squeezed my hand and whispered, I knew you'd come around. I looked down at the purse beside my chair. The spare key was still inside. I reached in. Gavin's shoulders visibly relaxed. Victoria even paused in the middle of wiping her tears. Everyone watched my hand. My fingers closed around the cold metal key. Then I moved past it and pulled out my phone instead. My father frowned. What are you doing? I opened the email I had received that afternoon. The confirmation from my real estate agent, Sophie, was still at the top of my inbox. I tapped it and slid my phone into the center of the table. Victoria looked down first. Tears were still clinging to her lashes, but her lips slowly parted. Gavin picked up the phone. The color drained from his face. On the screen were listing photos of my condo, the living room, the kitchen, the primary bedroom, and the second bedroom Victoria had just announced. She wanted to paint cream. In the top right corner, 2 words stood out in bold letters, for sale. My mother shot to her feet. I'm selling the condo. Have you lost your mind? That's your marital home. Not anymore. My father reached for the phone. I pulled it back before he could touch it. Don't. He froze. I took the spare key out of my purse and set it in front of me. Victoria stared at it. When did you list the place? This afternoon, because I wanted to stay for 3 months. Number she looked up. I put the key back in my purse. Because it's mine. The table went so quiet I could hear the air conditioner blowing. Gavin finally spoke. Take it down. I turned to him. What? Take the listing down. We'll talk about this at home. I looked at him. Did you forget something? What? That isn't our home. The gentle mask on his face finally cracked. We're getting married in 6 weeks. So if you suddenly decide to sell the place we were supposed to live in, the least you can do is discuss it with me. I picked up my purse. You decided my sister was moving in. You decided our wedding could be postponed. You decided who could enter my property. I stood. Now, it's my turn to make one decision. My mother called after me. Where are you going? To change the locks. Gavin followed me into the elevator and caught the closing door with one hand. What is wrong with you? There it was. No soft voice this time. I pressed the button for the lobby. Didn't you just let my mother tell everyone I was stressed from work? I never said that. You didn't correct her. His lips pressed into a hard line. The elevator opened. I had barely stepped into the lobby when my phone buzzed. Bank alert. Our joint account had received a transfer 5 days ago. Sender, Derek Walsh. Amount, $7,500. The note was one sentence. Thanks for handling this. I stopped in the middle of the busy lobby, my thumb frozen over the screen. Gavin saw it too. His step faltered. I looked up. Handling what? He did not answer. Gavin reached for my phone. I pulled it back. His hand stopped in midair, and for the first time, his expression turned completely cold. Maddie, don't make a scene here. A few people in the lobby glanced our way. I almost laughed. Then tell me why Derek sent you $7,500. He owed me money. From when? Last year. What date? His eyes flickered. Who remembers something that specific? I tapped Derek's name. Then I'll ask him. Gavin grabbed my wrist. He did not squeeze hard, but cold sweat broke across my back anyway. He had grabbed me exactly like this in my last life, when I tried to call the police after Victoria changed the locks. Back then, he had said, "Don't turn a family issue into something ugly." I looked down at his hand. "Let go." He hesitated. I raised my eyes. "Gavin, let go of me." This time, he did. "What is going on with you?" I started asking questions. "We've been together 5 years, and now you're interrogating me like I'm a thief over $7,500. Then answer the question." His chest rose and fell. "Fine. Derek gave me the money. He said Victoria needed somewhere stable to stay, and asked me to help talk you into it. It was just a thank you." I stared at him. "And you took it." "I was going to put it into our wedding account. So you used my condo to do him a favor, then planned to use his money to pay for our wedding." Maddie, color rose in his face. I said nothing else. Half an hour later, Sophie and I stood outside my condo on the 16th floor. The lock flashed blue. My fingerprint still worked. My palm was slick with sweat when I pressed it to the sensor. The door opened. The living room looked exactly the way I remembered it. Gavin's jacket was still thrown over the sofa from the week before. Our engagement photo still hung on the wall. The locksmith opened the access settings. 5 fingerprints are registered. I looked up. What? 1 building administrator, you, Mr. Reed, and 2 long-term guest profiles. Sophie muttered something under her breath. Gavin went pale. I turned to him. "Who are they?" His lips moved. "Your parents. When were they added?" The locksmith checked the log. 3 days ago. The same day Gavin had brought them here. Delete them. Gavin stepped forward. "Maddie, there's no reason to go this far. Delete all of them." I looked at the locksmith. Replace the lock. Reset all remote permissions. Keep only mine. "You're deleting me too?" Gavin asked. "Yes." His face went flat and cold. "This is how you solve problems. This is how I protect my property." I turned and walked into the second bedroom. The moment I pushed open the door, I stopped. A strip of blue painter's tape had been stuck to the wall near the window. On the floor was a faint gray mark, the kind a toolbox might leave behind. Sophie crouched and touched it. "Simone measured in here." I reached for the right side of the window frame. A tiny measurement sticker was still attached there. I had seen the same sticker in my last life. It belonged to the company that installed child safety window guards. My fingers curled into a fist. Gavin stood in the doorway. "They only took measurements. Who arranged it?" "Your mother." "When exactly were any of you planning to tell me?" "We were going to talk everything through tonight." "You were going to paint, measure the windows, add fingerprints, and then tell the homeowner." Sophie stood and folded her arms. Efficient little operation. Gavin shot her a look. "This is a family matter." I turned back to him. "This is a property matter." I photographed the measurement label and the lock access history, then called Michael, the building manager. "I want every family guest authorization revoked. Also, please preserve all visitor and maintenance records from 3 days ago." He paused on the other end. "Did something happen? People entered my condo without my permission." Gavin clenched his jaw. "Do you really have to make it sound like trespassing?" I looked at him. "Give me a prettier word for it." He had nothing. When the new lock was installed, Sophie asked, "Are you really selling?" "Yes. If we price it a little under market, it'll move fast, as long as the number is reasonable." She watched me for a few seconds. "Can you really let it go?" My eyes moved across the kitchen. I had visited 4 different stores before choosing those white quartz counters. I had redrawn the lighting plan 3 times myself. This was not some random property I had bought on a whim. When I got the bonus from my first major project, I had stood in the unfinished unit with construction dust all over my shoes and called Gavin. "I got it," I had told him. He had laughed and said we would start our life here. I looked away. "I can buy another home." Sophie did not ask again. That evening, I went to the wedding planner's office. 46 days to go. The coordinator assumed I wanted a new date. "We still have 2 fall weekends we might be able to make work," I'm not rescheduling. I pushed the contract toward her. I'm canceling. She stared at me. Does the groom know? Cancel everything that doesn't require both parties. Freeze anything that does, according to the contract. Some deposits are non-refundable. Then I lose them. My fingers were still stiff when I signed. Half the invitations had already gone out. My dress had been altered 3 times. My mother had even chosen what she planned to wear to the reception. But when my signature hit the page, there was no thunder. The ceiling did not collapse. The coordinator handed me the cancellation confirmation. Are you okay? I took it. I will be. When I got back to my office building, Gavin was waiting in the lobby. He clearly already knew. You canceled the wedding? Yes. You're serious. I slid the ring off my finger. After 2 years, it left a pale circle around the base of my finger. I placed it in the ring box. Serious enough for you. He did not take it. You're ending a 5-year relationship because Victoria wants to stay 12 weeks. This isn't about Victoria. Then what is it about? You took money from Derek. I can give it back. You gave people access to my home without asking me. I'm sorry. You contacted the venue about postponing our wedding without telling me. His Adam's apple moved. We can book it again. I pushed the ring box toward him. You still don't understand, then explain it to me. Every time you make a decision for me, you end by saying it's for everyone's benefit. I took my hand off the box, but somehow, every single time, I'm the one who has to give something up. Gavin stared at the ring. A long time passed before he looked at me. You're going to regret this. Then that'll be my regret. I turned and stepped into the elevator. Just before the doors closed, he swept the ring box off the edge of the table. It hit the floor behind me. I did not turn around. My phone rang. Michael. Miss Cross, can you come over right now? What happened? Your sister is here. By herself. He paused. She brought 4 suitcases, a crib, 2 boxes of kitchen supplies, and a locksmith. I closed my eyes. In my last life, she had at least waited until I handed her the key. This time, she could not even be bothered to finish the performance. Don't let them in, I said. I'm on my way. By the time I reached the building, a small crowd had gathered outside. Victoria sat on top of an oversized suitcase, one hand supporting her lower back, the other wiping tears from her face. Her belongings were piled behind her. A boxed crib, a sterilizer, a folding stroller, pots and pans, even a cloud-shaped nursery light. 12 weeks. Very minimalist. My mother spotted me first. Finally, she rushed toward me. Maddie, what do you mean you told the building not to let your sister inside? I mean, she isn't going inside. People nearby started whispering. Victoria looked up. Her eyes were red. Maddie, I really can't stand much longer. The hotel next door has a lobby. There's also a clinic down the street. If you need to rest, you have options. She blinked at me. Derek's face darkened. Do you really have to take it this far? Did you really have to bring a locksmith? The middle-aged locksmith immediately took a step backward. They told me they lost the key. Who told you that? Derek answered for him. This is a family matter. The locksmith looked at me. If you don't authorize it, I'm not touching the door. Thank you. My father came striding over from the parking area. Do you have any idea how embarrassing this is? I looked at him. For who? You left your own sister sitting outside while the whole building watches. Victoria suddenly sucked in a sharp breath. Both hands flew to her stomach. It hurts. My mother panicked instantly. Where? My stomach. The baby hasn't been moving much either. The crowd went quiet. Derek spun toward me. If something happens to the baby, I swear you'll answer for it. I already had my phone in my hand. He blinked. What are you doing? Calling for medical help. Victoria's head snapped up. No. My finger paused over the call button. She grabbed Derek's arm. I just need to lie down for a little while. You just said the baby isn't moving much. I'm probably just tired. Then you should get checked. I placed the call and explained, briefly and calmly, that a pregnant woman was reporting abdominal pain and decreased fetal movement and needed medical evaluation. My mother slapped at my hand. Why do you have to turn everything into a huge production? I pulled my phone away. She said something might be wrong with the baby. A woman standing nearby finally spoke up. She should absolutely get checked. That's not something to wait on. Another neighbor nodded. For one strange second, Victoria's tears stopped. The paramedics arrived quickly. After asking her a few questions, they strongly recommended she go in for an evaluation. In the end, she got into the ambulance. My mother tried to drag me along. You need to go with her. Her husband is with her. This happened because of you. She is standing out here because all of you tried to force your way into my home. I turned to Michael. Please call the police. My father's eyes widened. Your sister is on the way to the hospital, and you're still calling the police. Someone falsely claimed they had the right to enter my condo and brought a locksmith to open my door. The locksmith went pale. Wait, I have screenshots. He hurriedly pulled out his phone. They showed me a family group chat. They said it was shared family property. That's why I came. The screenshot showed my father's name, Thomas Cross. The condo was bought for both girls. Maddie is only on the title because it was easier at the time. Victoria has every right to live there. My fingers slowly curled. My father reached for the phone. You're going to treat some family group chat like evidence. I took a picture before he could grab it. If you were comfortable writing it, you can be comfortable with people reading it. Once the police arrived, the facts were simple. The title listed only me. I had written proof that all guest access had been revoked. They had no lease, no message from me granting permission, and they had shown up with a locksmith anyway. The officers documented everything and made it clear that no one was to attempt entry again. When I walked out of the building, my parents were still standing at the bottom of the steps. My mother had just returned from the hospital. Victoria is fine, she said coldly, disappointed. I stopped. I'm glad she's fine. You've never been able to stand seeing her happy. I opened my banking app. When she changed majors in college and came up short on tuition, who covered it? My mother froze. Who paid for her professional certification program? Why are you keeping score now? When her wedding went over budget, I gave her $8,000. Last year you said her car broke down, and I sent $6,000. Prenatal visits, baby supplies, emergency bills. I've paid more than $10,000 this year alone. My father's expression darkened with every number. What are you trying to say? That starting today, there is no next time. My mother stared at me. She's your sister. The words hit my chest like an old bruise. When Victoria took my birthday gift as a child. You're her big sister. When she ran short of money in college. You're her big sister. When her wedding budget fell apart. You're her big sister. In my last life. When she took my home, they had said the same thing. I tightened my grip on my phone. Yes, I'm her sister. I'm not her bank account. My mother's lips trembled. When did you become this kind of person? I stopped paying, that's all. I turned toward the parking lot. Derek came after me. You think you won. I stopped. What does that mean? He stepped closer and lowered his voice. Whether that condo gets sold isn't entirely up to you. My name is the only one on the title. Your parents put money into it. Then they can prove it. One corner of his mouth lifted. They will. I looked at him. That expression, I had seen it before, right before the forged agreement appeared in my last life. I opened my car door. Derek. He looked at me. If you come near my door again, the next police report won't end with a warning. His smile vanished. Back at the office, I backed up everything from that day. Video, the police incident number, the locksmith screenshots. The second I finished, my family group chat exploded with messages. My mother posted a photo of Victoria lying on an exam bed at the hospital. The caption read, "Our oldest daughter would rather sell a home than help her pregnant sister. We failed as parents." Relatives piled on immediately. A house is worth more than family now. I heard Thomas helped with the down payment. I did not respond. 10 minutes later, a cousin I barely spoke to messaged me privately. "Maddie, your dad is talking to a lawyer. He says the condo was always meant for both of you." I stared at the screen. Right then, Sophie walked into my office and set a coffee on my desk. How bad? I handed her my phone. She read the messages, then looked up. They're actually going to sue you over your own condo. Looks like it. Are you scared? I pressed my thumb against the lid of the coffee cup. In my last life, I had been terrified. Terrified my relatives would call me heartless. Terrified Gavin would be disappointed in me. Terrified the wedding would be cancelled. Terrified everyone would say I had chosen money over family. I was afraid of everything, and in the end, I kept nothing. I picked up the coffee. I'm not scared they'll sue me. Then what are you scared of? I watched the messages continue to pour in, that they won't. The next morning, Rebecca called me. The pre-litigation mediation notice just came through. I sat up straighter. That fast. Your parents are claiming they paid the down payment, and that the condo was placed in your name only as a temporary arrangement. They're also asking the court to recognize Victoria's right to live there. She paused. Maddie, they aren't just trying to get your sister through the front door. I know. A video notification popped up in the bottom corner of my computer screen. Victoria had posted something new. The title was one sentence. My sister put me in the hospital over a house. The view count was climbing by the second. Within an hour, the video had hundreds of thousands of views. When I opened it, Victoria was sitting in a rental apartment with the main lights deliberately turned off. There was a patch of mildew in one corner. Baby supplies were stacked behind her. Her eyes were red. Her voice was soft. I never thought my own sister would do this to me. The comments moved too fast to read. She said she only wanted to stay for 12 weeks. She said our parents had helped me with the down payment. She said I had suddenly listed the condo, called the police on her, and sent her to the hospital. My mother appeared in the video too, holding a stack of medical paperwork. My older daughter makes good money. We never asked her for much. I stared at that sentence. Sophie, sitting across from me, actually laughed out loud. Never asked for much. I pulled up my bank records. For 8 years, I had been sending my parents money every month. Whenever Victoria came up short on school, her wedding, moving costs, or medical bills, they came to me. Every time, my mother said, just this once. Apparently an endless collection of just this once is added up to not asking for much. The front desk at my company soon started receiving calls from strangers. That afternoon, HR asked me to come into a conference room. James, our general manager, was already there. Printed complaint emails were spread across the table. Some accused me of mistreating my pregnant sister. Some claimed I had used my professional connections to threaten my family. A few had gone completely off the rails and invented stories about me taking kickbacks on projects. James looked at me. Do you want to take some time off? The internet is ugly right now. That's exactly why I'm not leaving. I slid a folder across the table. Title records, mortgage statements, the source of the down payment, my grandmother's estate documents, building records, the police report. Have legal preserve every complaint that mentions the company. Our corporate attorney skimmed the folder quickly. Do you want us to issue a statement for you? Not yet. James frowned. Why not? I froze Victoria's first video on one screen and her second on another. In the first one, she says she only wanted to stay 12 weeks. I tapped again. In the second, my mother says the condo was always intended for both daughters. Then I pulled up a third clip. In the live stream she just did, Victoria said, the condo was only temporarily placed in my name. I turned my phone face down on the table. Let them keep talking. At 3 that afternoon, Victoria went live. The viewer count shot upward. An aunt appeared. An uncle appeared. Even a cousin I saw maybe once a year went on camera and said, Maddie has always resented her sister. News to me. Gavin did not appear on screen, but he left a comment. I hope Maddie calms down and stops hurting everyone who loves her. The comment was pushed all the way to the top. Sophie snapped a cookie in half. He makes me want to do something that wouldn't get me arrested, but would definitely come with a fine. I looked at her. Don't. I'm expressing a literary emotion. I laughed before I could stop myself. It was the first time in days, strangely, afterward. The hard ache in my chest loosened a little. Victoria's live stream ran for almost 3 hours. The longer it went, the more comfortable she became. The comments were overwhelmingly on her side. Then someone asked, if your parents paid the down payment, why wasn't Victoria on the title? My mother hesitated. Because, at the time, we wanted to protect Victoria's future financial options. Victoria coughed immediately. My mother glanced at her. The situation was complicated back then. For the first time, question marks flooded the comments. Then why did she say she only wanted to stay 12 weeks? What exactly is the arrangement? Victoria changed the subject fast, but the crack was already there. As the live stream was ending, the camera suddenly shook. The screen went black. The audio stayed on. Derek spoke first. What if she posts the bank records? Victoria lowered her voice. That only proves part of the down payment. My coffee stopped halfway to my mouth. Sophie shot upright in her chair. The screen was still black. My mother's voice came from farther away. First, we stall the sale. Once the title is tied up in a dispute, buyers will get nervous. Derek gave a short laugh. Exactly. Once Victoria's inside with the baby, Maddie won't throw her out in front of everyone. Victoria asked quietly, "What about the agreement?" "Relax. We just need enough to freeze the sale." For a second, there was total silence. Then the live stream cut off for good. Sophie's mouth was hanging open. Did they just explain their entire plan in front of tens of thousands of people? I saved the screen recording. Yes. She leaned back in her chair. Well, happy holidays early. Victoria deleted the replay in under a minute. It did not matter. Hundreds of people had already recorded it. Clips spread everywhere. The direction of the comments flipped almost instantly. Wait. They planned to move in first. What agreement? So the lawsuit was supposed to scare off buyers. Pregnant or not, you can't take someone else's property. Victoria posted a clarification, claiming the audio had been maliciously edited. Someone immediately uploaded the full timeline. She deleted comments, reopened them, deleted them again. At 8 that night, I made my first public response. No tears, no insults, just a timeline. I bought the condo 3 years ago. I showed the source of the down payment, the mortgage payments, the lock permissions, building access records, the police report, my parents' legal filing. At the end, I included a recording from the first family dinner. Victoria's voice was perfectly clear. If I'm already living there with the baby, you wouldn't really make us leave, right? Less than an hour after I posted the video, the attacks on my company's social accounts started disappearing in waves. Some people apologized to the company. Others reposted screenshots of my documents. James texted me, "Come to work tomorrow. Your project stays yours." I stared at the message and suddenly felt my nose sting. In my last life, the first time my company called me in because of family drama, I had taken an extended leave on my own. I thought, if I fixed things at home, everything else would simply return to normal. Instead, the client moved on. I lost the project. By the time I came back, everyone had gotten used to working without me. This time, I stayed. I set my phone face down on the desk. Sophie handed me a tissue. I took it. "Don't say anything." I didn't. "Your face is loud." She laughed. I laughed too. Then Rebecca called. She skipped the small talk. "Maddie, the court system just uploaded supplemental evidence." "What kind?" "A family property ownership agreement." The tissue stopped in my hand. "It says that 3 years ago, you agreed to hold the condo in your name on behalf of the family, and that once Victoria married or had a child, she could demand to be added to the title." The noise in the office seemed to recede. I stood. "What about the signature?" Rebecca was silent for 1 second. "It looks like yours." My fingers went ice cold. "It isn't. You're sure?" "I never signed anything like that." I grabbed my coat. "Send it to me." The document hit my inbox while I was standing in the elevator. I enlarged the signature at the bottom. Maddie Cross. At the end of the M was a tiny break in the ink. I stared at it. 2 years ago, when Gavin and I signed a wedding planning letter of intent, I had used a pen that was almost out of ink. That old document had been stored in our shared cloud folder ever since. Only 2 people could download it. And Gavin. Rebecca put the 2 scanned documents side by side on her screen. The old wedding letter, the so-called property agreement supposedly signed 3 years ago, when she overlaid the 2 signatures. Even the tiny gap in the final stroke lined up perfectly. She glanced at me. "People can sign their names similarly. They don't sign them like photocopies." She closed the files. "We're requesting handwriting analysis, document dating, and a digital source examination." I stared at the monitor. "If it's proven to be forged, then this stops being a routine family property dispute." I said nothing. In my last life, when that document first appeared, my father had shoved it across a table at me. Gavin had sat beside him and said, "You signed it. Making a bigger scene will only make this uglier." I had nearly screamed that it was not my signature. Everyone had stared at me, like I was the only unstable person in the room. This time, I saved the file in 3 different places. Investigate everything. Gavin asked me to meet him. He chose the coffee shop where we had gone on our first date. When I arrived, he had already ordered the drink I used to get there. Sit down. I did, but I did not touch the cup. Did you finish separating the joint account? His expression darkened. We're not here to talk about money. Then what are we here to talk about? Take the condo off the market. I laughed once. He frowned. What's funny? You still think I'm coming back. Maddie, we had 5 years. So one fight doesn't erase 5 years. I pulled out my phone. On the screen was a conversation between him and one of his friends. While I was cleaning files off our shared computer, one of his accounts had logged in automatically. After we're married, Maddie's condo gives us a lot of equity. I can probably use it to back the first round of financing. His friend had replied, Isn't it her premarital property? Gavin had answered, She won't make a big thing out of it once we're married. I pushed the phone across the table. His face went white. You went through my messages. The account logged in on our shared computer. That was still a private conversation. When you planned to use my condo to finance your business, did you remember it was private property? His fingers pressed hard against the edge of the table. The business was supposed to be for our future. When exactly did my home become your startup capital? I said we could discuss it after we were married. You'd already discussed it for me. His mouth tightened. I pulled up the $7,500 transfer from Derek, and this. I returned it. Returning it doesn't mean you never took it. His voice jumped. What do you want from me? Several people at nearby tables looked over. He lowered his voice immediately. Maddie, I'm sorry. I admit I handled things badly. A lock. The money, the wedding date. I'll apologize for all of it. What about the agreement? Something flickered in his eyes. Fast, but not fast enough. You've seen it. Number, Gavin. I said no. You're the only person besides me who had access to the file with my old signature. His throat moved. Derek asked me for a contract template once. The wedding letter. He said he wanted to use the formatting as a reference. I looked at him. I did not say a word. His explanation collapsed under the silence. I didn't know he was going to use it for this. But you knew they were trying to freeze the sale. He said nothing. You knew, Maddie. They were just trying to force you to sit down and talk. So you decided to force me into the chair first. He shut his eyes for a moment. I just didn't think you'd actually lose anything in the end. My fingers stopped moving. I wouldn't lose anything. Victoria stays for a while. The condo is still yours. Even if her name gets added, you can sort that out later. I looked at him for a long time. There. What? That's why I can't marry you. His face went completely white. It's not that you don't understand what I would lose. I picked up my bag. You just think it's fine if I lose a little. He reached out to block me. We can start over. I looked at him. Move. Maddie, I love you. Steam hissed from the espresso machine across the room. I had waited a long time to hear him say those words. Now all I could think was that the coffee on the table was too sweet. You love the version of me who says yes. I stepped around him. She doesn't live here anymore. That night, the first forensic report came back. The signature showed clear signs of digital copying. The paper had also been printed well after the date the agreement was supposedly signed. Then everything began to fall apart. Derek said my father had given him the document. My father said Derek had brought it to him. My mother claimed she had never read the thing. Gavin insisted he had only provided an old file. One by one, everyone backed away from the mess. Suddenly, no one was saying, "We're family." When the court requested additional electronic records, data from Derek's company computer was produced. The first version of the agreement had been created on his office machine. Worse, a separate debt case turned up messages between Derek and one of his creditors. My wife's family has a condo worth over $800K. We'll get Victoria on the title. Once that happens, I'll have room to refinance. I sent the screenshots to Victoria. No insults. Just one line. So this is the cash flow problem. She did not respond for an entire hour. The next day, she asked to meet. We sat in a small restaurant near the hospital. She was not wearing makeup. There were dark circles under her eyes. Derek owes money. How much? I thought around 200,000. More than 600,000. Her lips went pale, maybe more. You knew he wanted to use my condo to get financing. She lowered her head. I knew some of it. How much is some? He said if I moved in first, then Mom and Dad could convince you to add me to the title. After that, we could apply for a loan. Once the business recovered, we'd pay it back. I stared at her. And if the business didn't recover, she said nothing. Victoria. Her head snapped up. Then what am I supposed to do? Someone at the next table turned around. Her tears came fast. You have a career. You have savings. If you sell this condo, you can buy another one. What do I have? Derek's company is collapsing. I'm about to have a baby. Mom and Dad don't have much money either. I wrapped my hand around my water glass. So you decided to take mine. I wasn't trying to take it. Then what was the fake agreement? Derek made it. You knew about it during the live stream. I just wanted you to sit down and talk to us. I looked at her. If you had come to me at the beginning and said your husband was in debt and you needed to borrow $100,000 or $200,000, I would have considered it. She bit her lip. A loan wouldn't have been enough, so taking my property would. She started crying harder. Why do you have to make it sound so awful? I set my napkin on the table. Because I've had enough of making ugly things sound nice. She reached for my hand. Maddie, stop the forensic investigation. We don't need half the title. We really don't. Just let us live there for 5 years. I looked at her hand. 3 months. She blinked. What? It started as 3 months. I removed her hand from mine. Now it's 5 years. I stood. If I keep sitting here, 5 years will become 10. Are you trying to destroy us? The restaurant went quiet. I looked at her. Derek went into debt. You brought a locksmith. You forged a document. You went online and turned strangers against me. I picked up my bag. I didn't take a single one of those steps for you. That afternoon, Rebecca sent me recovered messages from the investigation. Derek had written to Gavin, as long as the dispute freezes the sale, she'll fold. Gavin had replied, don't push too hard. She hates family conflict. A little pressure is enough. I stared at the last sentence. My fingertips tingled. It was not that they did not know me. It was the opposite. They knew me too well. They knew I hated seeing my mother cry. They knew I feared disappointing my father. They knew relatives gossiping about me could get under my skin. They knew I was terrified of throwing away a 5-year relationship. Every one of them had placed the same bet. Maddie would give in. This time, they had only miscalculated one thing. I had already died once. After the forensic findings were formally submitted, my father finally agreed to withdraw the property claim. He had one condition, a family dinner. It was held in a private room at an old restaurant. More than 20 people showed up. Uncles, aunts, cousins, even relatives who normally only appeared in the group chat to post holiday greetings. When I opened the door, the room went quiet for a second. My father sat at the head of the table. Beside my mother was a photo of Victoria's newborn baby. Victoria herself was not there. Derek sat in one corner. Gavin was there too. My step faltered for half a second when I saw him. He had lost weight. Dark shadows sat under his eyes. Then I walked in, pulled out a chair, and sat down. My uncle spoke first. Your family. Don't take this so far that there's no way back. I opened my tablet. No way back for who? My father's face tightened. We're willing to withdraw the lawsuit, because you can't prove you own any part of the condo. But you have to agree not to go after Derek, and you need to stop targeting Victoria. I looked at him. Putting down something that was never yours is not a bargaining chip. Someone at the table lowered their eyes and took a sip of water. My mother's eyes filled immediately. Your sister just had a baby. I know. What is she supposed to do if something happens to Derek? She can work. She can leave him. She can pursue whatever support he is legally responsible for. You can help her too. You're her sister. There it was again. My fingers rested on the edge of the tablet. The words pricked like an old needle under the skin. When I was 8, Victoria took my birthday present. When I was 16, she broke my computer, and Dad told me not to make a big deal out of it. When I was 25, she blew through her wedding budget, and my mother cried on the phone, saying I was the only one who could save the day. In my last life, I had stood outside my own front door and heard Gavin say the same thing. She's your sister. I looked up. Then today, we're going to settle the account. I connected my tablet to the screen in the private room. The first recording played. Victoria's voice. Once, I'm living there with the baby. She's not really going to make us leave. Second recording. My mother. She hates family conflict. Let people criticize her online for a few days and she'll give in. My father. Outside the condo. That condo belongs to the Cross family, not just to her. Final recording. Derek. Once the title is officially disputed, the sale stops. Gavin. Don't push too hard. She's soft-hearted. Scare her a little, and she'll fold. The room got quieter with every clip. The only sound left was the air coming through the vent. My mother suddenly snapped. Recordings can be edited. I opened the file information. The complete files, timestamps, and original device records have already been submitted to the court and investigators. Her lips moved, but nothing came out. My uncle turned sharply toward her. Then what's the truth about the down payment? My mother's face changed. I projected my grandmother's will and the bank trail onto the screen. My grandmother left me $95,000. I was still in school when she died, so my mother temporarily held the money for me. When I bought the condo, the exact amount was transferred into my account. I opened another page. The remaining $125,000 came from my own savings. Every mortgage payment has come from my account. My father's face was grim. We raised you. Are you saying that counts for nothing? Number I opened the last spreadsheet. That's why I never counted any of this for the past 8 years. A list of transfers filled the screen. Monthly support for my parents. Victoria's tuition shortfalls. Professional training, wedding overruns. Moving expenses. Medical bills. Baby supplies. More than $80,000 in total. Someone at the table inhaled softly. My mother spoke fast. You make good money. What does that amount to you? I looked at her. Of course, it feels like nothing to you. It wasn't your money. Her face flushed. So now you're abandoning your own parents too. I'll still take on reasonable family responsibilities. What does reasonable mean? If there is a legitimate medical need, I can pay the provider directly. If there's a real emergency, I'll evaluate it. I switched the screen back to the transfer records, but the automatic monthly payments stop now. Victoria's rent, her bills, and Derek's debt are not my responsibility. My father slammed his palm on the table. You're cutting yourself off from this family. Number E closed the tablet. I'm taking back my debit card. No one said a word. The cousin who had been one of the first to call me selfish in the family chat turned her phone face down. My aunt looked at my father. Thomas, this time you really did go too far. My father froze. Apparently he had not expected the audience he assembled to switch sides. Derek abruptly stood. I have somewhere to be. He barely made it to the door before 2 people were waiting outside. They identified themselves as investigators and asked him to cooperate with an inquiry involving the forged document and related financial records. No one in the room touched their food. Derek's face turned gray. This is a family dispute. One of the investigators simply said, "Please cooperate." They escorted him to another area to speak. There was no shouting, no dramatic struggle. But my mother's hands had started shaking. She grabbed her phone and called Victoria. The moment Victoria answered, she was already crying. "Maddie, help him. Just tell them the agreement was a misunderstanding." My mother tried to hand me the phone. I did not take it. I only switched it to speaker. Whether it was a misunderstanding is not something I get to decide with one sentence. He's the father of my baby. My fingers curled slightly. When he was doing all of this, did he remember that I was your sister? All I heard after that was crying. I ended the call. And that was the end of the family dinner. It was raining outside. I stood beneath the restaurant awning and opened my umbrella. In my last life, I had waited for my parents in the rain too. That day, they had walked out of Victoria's building, and I had chased after them, trying to explain that the condo was not shared property. My father told me to go home and stop making a scene. My mother said we could talk once Victoria calmed down. I stood in the rain for half an hour. Neither of them looked back. This time, I stepped off the curb. No one behind me called my name or told me to keep the condo for Victoria. 2 weeks later, my parents formally withdrew their claim. The court found no valid basis for shared ownership, and the restriction on the sale was lifted. Emily and her family, the buyers, came back to sign the contract. Standing in the living room, she asked me, Are you really okay letting this place go? I looked around. The engagement photo was gone from the wall. The second bedroom was empty again. I had peeled the blue measurement tape off the window too. No, I said. I'm not. She looked surprised. I ran my fingertips over the kitchen counter. But I don't want to open the door years from now and remember the time I was locked out of my own home. My parents showed up on closing day. They stood outside the office and did not try to stop anything. When the staff member confirmed that title had officially transferred, the printer pushed out the final receipt. My mother walked toward me. You really sold it? Yes. Victoria is planning to leave Derek. Where is she supposed to go with a baby? Rent somewhere. Rent costs money. She can work. She just had a baby. Recovery is not the rest of her life. Tears rolled down my mother's face. You were never like this before. I folded the closing receipt and slid it into my folder. I used to believe you would never actually take my home from me. She grabbed my sleeve. What about the money from the sale? You can't seriously keep every penny and give the family nothing. I looked down at her hand. Then, I removed her fingers from my sleeve one by one. That money is mine. My father stood several feet away. His face dark, but he said nothing. That night, Gavin sent me one final message. I was wrong. If you ever change your mind, you know where to find me. I looked at it for a few seconds. Deleted. Blocked. I did not send some beautiful final line. There was no point. Later, Derek's company shut down under the weight of its debt and the investigation. Victoria eventually separated from him and moved with the baby into my parents' two-bedroom place. It took less than a month before my mother started complaining that she could not sleep at night. My father started complaining that the apartment was too crowded, and Victoria started complaining that no one helped her enough. For years, they had all believed that if they could simply push Victoria into my home, every problem would disappear. Now, there was no one left to absorb the bills, the arguments, and the consequences for them. The problems finally landed back in the laps of the people who had created them. 3 months later, Victoria got a remote customer service job. She never apologized to me. I stopped waiting for one. At work, the project I had refused to abandon was delivered successfully. James invited me to become a partner in a new residential design studio, contributing my expertise and part of the initial capital in exchange for equity. When the contract was placed in front of me, I read it from the first page to the last. Exit terms. Ownership percentages. Signing authority. Every line was spelled out clearly. James smiled. You read contracts like a lawyer now. I capped my pen. I finally learned to understand something before I sign it. The first project I led at the new studio was a collection of compact homes designed for women living alone. Smart locks, private storage, controlled guest access, visible entryways, emergency contact features. A client once asked why I cared so much about doors. I turned the blueprint slightly toward her. Because home should be the one place where you never have to negotiate whether you're allowed inside. 6 months later, I bought a new condo. It was not huge, a little over 1,000 square feet. 15 minutes from the office, with a park and a library downstairs. My name was the only name on the title. On moving day, Sophie brought me a plant. Rebecca gave me a set of document organizers. My friends crowded into the kitchen and ate takeout, out of cartons. Sophie glanced at the new smart lock. So who has a backup fingerprint this time? How romantic. I laughed and tossed a napkin at her. That night, after everyone left, I put my grandmother's photograph on the highest shelf of the bookcase. City lights glowed beyond the windows. There was no wedding photo on the wall. The second bedroom was not a nursery. It was simply a room I had not decided what to do with yet. I liked that. My phone lit up. Unknown number. Maddie. It's Mom. Things have been very quiet here lately. When are you coming home for dinner? I looked at the message for a few seconds. No reply. Delete block. I walked to the front door and pressed the lock button. Click. A very small sound. In my last life, I had stood outside another door and pressed my finger against the scanner, again and again. Red light. Access denied. Victoria had spoken through the door. This is my home now. My father had said, stop making a scene. Gavin had said, it's just a condo. Now, I rested my hand on my own door handle. The door did not keep me out. This home was not holding a place for anyone else either. My project files filled the study. Plants I liked grew on the balcony. The guest room was just a guest room. It did not belong to my parents, my sister, or some man I had not even met yet. I turned off the living room light. Before walking into my bedroom, I looked back at the door once. In my last life, I had been so afraid of losing my family that I left myself standing outside. In this life, I sold a condo, ended a wedding, and shut down an 8-year stream of family payments. No one fell to their knees outside my door, begging forgiveness. No wonderful new man appeared to reward me with a better romance. The next morning, sunlight slipped through the curtains. I made coffee, opened my laptop, and went back to revising the plans for our new housing project. A save notification appeared in the corner of the screen. I clicked confirm. Then I went to work. Behind me, the door stayed quietly locked. And this time, I was the one on the inside. Let's talk about Gavin. He didn't want a wife. He wanted a silent partner with excellent credit and a condo he could leverage for his startup. He accepted $7,500 from Derek, like a down payment on betrayal. Handed out fingerprints to her own front door as if he owned the building, postponed the wedding without consulting her, and then told his friend she'd fold under pressure. That is not love. That is a hostile takeover wearing an engagement ring. He didn't just betray Maddie, he helped build the trap, then stood outside it with a concerned expression, as if watching her struggle were an act of support. And Victoria, she weaponized her pregnancy at every turn. She cried on cue, faked weakness, brought a locksmith to her sister's door, and called it family. She treated Maddie's condo as a solution to her husband's debts and a stage for her victimhood. Their parents co-signed every betrayal, then had the audacity to call Maddie selfish for keeping receipts. They knew exactly which buttons to push because they had spent years installing them. Every, just this once. Every, she is your sister, every guilt trip disguised as affection. But Maddie did something they never predicted. She didn't beg, explain, or negotiate. She listed the condo, changed the locks, canceled the wedding, and let the forensic evidence do the talking. She stopped being the family debit card and became the woman they couldn't outcry, outpressure, or outmanipulate. She didn't argue with their lies. She simply documented the truth. That is the quiet, devastating power of walking away without asking permission. Loves, hear me tonight. Family is not a magic word that turns theft into love. It does not justify forged signatures, stolen keys, or online smear campaigns. You are not required to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. And you are not a bad daughter for refusing to be extorted. A locked door is not cruelty. It is self-respect. The people who truly love you will never need to strip you of your home to feel secure. They will want you to thrive, not merely to serve. Maddie learned that security isn't a place. It is a boundary. She sold the condo, not because she hated it, but because she refused to let it become a monument to her own erasure. She didn't need revenge. She needed peace. And she found it in a new home where the only name on the title is her own, where the guest room is just a guest room, and where no one else's fingerprint can open the door. The story's told. She walked away, brick, and built a life no one else could claim. Now it is your turn. Are you ready to stop paying for a seat at a table that was never set for you? I am Nova. Sweet dreams tonight, and tomorrow, rise from the ashes, reborn.